The only use for an atomic bomb is to keep someone else from using one. My name's JR, and this is Warframe, built to destroy. Hey, what's up, pups? It's JR, and I am officially back. If you're seeing me right now, then that means we've also set the VR back up. If not, well, there's always next week. Oregon has finally been spared the horrors of summer and sunny weather, and is now back to the absolutely delightful cloudy, rainy weather as it should be. Meaning I can finally get back to making videos without straight up dying. I did upload the first episode to my Fallout 4 Far Harbor playthrough about 2 weeks ago, but that was mainly to tell everybody what was going on. Which, speaking of, I would just like to quickly plug my non-Warframe videos. These videos are the videos you'll really see me being me most of the time, and it'll also showcase my ability to edit. In Built to Destroy episodes like this one, I can speak in my own way and throw in a joke every now and then, but they are majorly supposed to be a sort of Warframe educational video, showing people what other weapons and Warframes can do, as well as being a sort of beacon letting people know that they don't have to use Arcoplasmor and anything with Maiming Strike. My main goal with this series is to prove a point to the entire Warframe community. That point being, the meta has no place in a game like Warframe, and Warframe's meta specifically is absolutely stupid. Warframe's meta is basically just whatever setup takes the human element out of the equation the most. Hence why I use the term sleep through a mission every time I bring up how I hate the meta and the people who actively follow and enforce it. Of course though, I'm a firm believer that people are entitled to use what they want. Do you get the most enjoyment from Arcoplasmor, Skoliak, and the like? More power to you. Just don't act like that is the only setup that people should use, and find some more weapons that you enjoy so you have a catalog of weapons to recommend if the matter comes up. But the point I'm trying to make here is, I have a message I'm trying to advertise with this series, so while I do put my own personal spin on it, I still have to be rather straightforward in the way I talk. But when I'm not making BTD, I'm able to just talk the way I would normally, and I have more options opened up as far as editing goes. So to finish off, I just want to suggest checking out some of my other non-Warframe videos. Whether it be my new Fallout series, stream highlights, or even my scary videos, if you give my other videos a shot, I'll very much appreciate it. If you do check out one of these videos, however, I'd recommend either my Fallout video or my most recent Overwatch video. Now, with all that said, let's get into the video. When I first installed Warframe, there are a few Warframes I wanted to get the moment I saw them in the codex. The most notable ones being Valkyr, Banshee, and one other Warframe. Like with the other two, the third Warframe I wanted because I found her concept very interesting and all around cool. Well, not gonna lie, there's also one other reason I wanted her, but I can't seem to place what it is right now. I found her concept cool for one reason. What is the one thing that science knows exists, but has no fucking clue what it actually is or how it comes to be? What is something that, if it comes in contact with any matter, it explodes? You guessed it, antimatter, otherwise known as dark matter. Space is cool, we all know that. But something I find super cool is a thing that is completely incomprehensible by science, that explodes if it comes in contact with anything made of normal matter, aka anything. As a man who is very fond of various weaponry, I find the metaphorical concept of being able to keep dark matter in a controlled state to be used in offensive matter rather cool, ignoring the non-advertiser friendly implications of what it could be used for in the wrong hands. So, with this in mind, I was immediately enthralled by Nova Prime. Nova Prime is the prime variant of the Warframe Nova that uses controlled antimatter to turn the tides of war in her favor. She comes with average health and shields, 65 armor, 175 energy, and a speedy 1.2 sprint speed. She also comes preloaded with 3 Madurai or V polarities, as well as a Naramon or Dash polarity in her aura slot, matching with Energy Siphon, my go-to aura mod, making her one of 14 Warframes that don't make me hate myself when I first claim them for my foundry. At the time of this video, Nova Prime, along with her weapons Soma Prime and Vosto Prime, are currently in the Prime Vault. So outside of trade chat, she is unobtainable. But don't worry, regular Nova works just fine, given the fact that they have the same survivability. As I said, Nova was one of the first Warframes I sought out to get, partially because of her concept and partially because of her design. thighs and ass aside. In all seriousness, I love the way regular Nova looks. To the point, I felt inclined to use her default color setup when I first got her. Then Nova Prime got released and I loved her even more. Then she got a lot of love from Tennogen, warranting her beautiful skins to make up for the fact that her deluxe skin looks like the dog in a Hindi family ate some bad Dal Makhani and Ralphed on the floor. I really don't have a favorite Tennogen skin for Nova. I have her Stinger, Visage, Device, and Corpus skin, and I find myself hopping between the four rather often. However, I have been using her Stinger skin rather often. Not to make her BDSM Nova, but to instead make her Nova. You get it? It's like Diva from Overwatch. Okay, I'll see myself out. Now that I'm talking about her, I kinda wanna go spend 2.5 hours customizing her, but for the sake of the video, we'll just hop right into her abilities. Nova's first ability is Null Star. When cast, Nova generates a base amount of 6 antimatter projectiles that swarm around her. When an enemy is within a base range of 12 meters, the particles will fly out one by one and damage the target, occasionally inflicting a slash proc. Nova also becomes immune to staggers while this ability is active. However, they only do a base damage of 200, and you actually get 5% damage reduction on your health per particle, meaning with no mods on, Nova takes 30% less damage on her health than normal, and you can increase the number of particles generated by increasing your power strength, meaning you get more damage resistance. But this isn't really practical because the particles fly out without your say-so, so long as an enemy is in range. Also, the damage reduction is only on your health, meaning that shields are still as fucking useless as they are normally. So, the only way you can make this damage reduction really work is with a very heavy negative range build which hurts your other abilities. Also, you'd have to completely ignore shields and boost your health with Vitality, Vigor, Prime Vigor, and Gladiator Resolve, if you still wanted to boost your abilities in the way you would need for you to be able to use Null Star as a pseudo tank ability. Because of this and the low overall damage, I do not see the point or inclination to use Null Star at all. Even the augment is lackluster. Either way, if you still want to use this ability in some way, you can influence it with strength and range mods. Nova's second ability is Antimatter Drop. This is by far Nova's highest potential damage ability. When cast, Nova sends out a large volatile orb of antimatter that you can guide the motion of by looking at the area you want it to go. When it comes in contact with a surface, it, being antimatter, will explode, dealing a base 200 damage in a base radius of 15 meters. It also deals 10 damage to any enemy it comes in direct contact with before it explodes, but who cares. The thing that makes this such a high potential damage ability is the fact that you can shoot it for the orb to absorb the damage from whatever weapon you shot it with, taking the total damage dealt by that weapon before a crit, multiplying it by 8, and adding it to the damage of the explosion. This means if you shoot it once with a weapon that deals 1000 damage per shot before a crit because it uses object health, the explosion will do 8,200 damage. The best part being, you don't have to stop shooting it at 1 with most weapons. As you can most likely see from the preview, most weapons are able to lay multiple rounds into the orb to massively increase its damage. However, at one point the orb will turn a solid ball of energy the color of your Nova's energy color, and at that point it will not absorb any more damage. Antimatter Drop is influenced by strength and range mods, affecting the base damage of the orb and the radius of the detonation only. Nova's third ability is Wormhole. When cast, Nova places a wormhole in front of her that teleports whoever enters it, including enemies, a base max range of 50 meters away, provided nothing blocks the path of the wormhole. If there's a wall or something in the way of the wormhole, you will instead teleport to the point the wormhole came in contact with the obstruction. It stays in the world for a base duration of 16 seconds, or until it is used 4 times. The number of uses before it disappears cannot be changed. This is hailed as one of the best distance covering abilities in the game, and it is only made better by its augment, Escape Velocity, which increases allies that enter its movement speed by a base amount of 50% for a base duration of 7 seconds. Wormhole is influenced by duration and range mods, affecting the maximum distance the wormhole can go and the duration the wormhole stays in the world. But with the augment, it is influenced by strength, duration, and range, also affecting the speed bonus amount and duration of the buff. Nova's fourth ability is Molecular Prime. When cast, Nova sends out a wave of expanding antimatter energy that primes all enemies it touches with antimatter, making them highly unstable. Enemies affected by Molecular Prime are slowed by a base amount of 30% and take twice the damage they normally would from any incoming damage force, making this a decent ability to use simply as a damage buff. as the double damage bonus is unaffected by mods, so you could very much run a negative strength build and still be able to use Molecular Prime to buff your damage as much as you would normally. The Wave of Energy has an initial radius of 35 meters and continues to expand by 5 meters per second for a base duration of 6 seconds. On top of the debuffs for affected enemies, when primed enemies are killed, they will detonate, dealing a base 800 radiation damage to anyone within a base 10 meter radius. This can cause a chain reaction of detonations if nearby enemies do not have the health to survive the prior explosion. This, coupled with the speed debuff, makes Molecular Prime one of the greatest CC abilities in the entire game, especially because of the massive range it can cover if you build Nova for duration. Molecular Prime is influenced by strength, duration, and range mods. Strength affecting the explosion damage and how much enemies are slowed, but not the damage multiplier. Duration affecting the duration enemies are primed for and how long the Wave of Energy continues to expand, and range affecting the explosion radius of enemies killed while primed, but not the initial range of the energy wave. As far as augments go, I will recommend one, but I can recommend all three. The one I will absolutely recommend is Escape Velocity. It is simply a must-have if you're a speed demon like me, and it makes it so Wormhole can cover even more distance even after you've gone through. However, I can still technically recommend the other two for Null Star and Antimatter Drop. I can recommend Neutron Star if you go for a Dark Matter defense build and focus on Null Star's damage reduction. Awesome name for that build, JR. Nice one. This is because you can detonate the remaining particles for 120 base damage, but more importantly, you can refresh the amount of particles you have orbiting you by detonating them and recasting the ability. As for the other augment, I can recommend Antimatter Absorb for you lower level players that can't deal a whole lot of damage on your own. With this augment, the orb will also absorb enemy projectiles that come in a base radius of 3 meters of it to assist you in increasing its explosive damage. But for my fellow endgame players, just dump a mag into it and skip this mod. Now that we're done with that, let's move on to my build. I have Vitality and Primed Vigor increasing Nova's survivability, Primed Continuity, Constitution, and Narrow-Minded increasing her duration, but reducing her range to 58%, Intensify with Power Drift in her Exila slot increasing her strength, and finally, Escape Velocity augmenting her Wormhole ability. Now, you may be wondering why I have a 6 out of 10 Narrow-Minded. Well, this is because I only have the one, and for my Zephyr Prime build to be the way it is, I need to keep it 6 out of 10. Shorthand answer is, I haven't gotten around to getting another Narrow-Minded. But with all that out of the way, let's see what Nova can do. That's going to wrap up this episode of Built to Destroy. If you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like, and make sure to hit that subscribe button to become a pup if you haven't already. Also, if you want to support me in the channel, consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month. My name is JR, and I'll see you guys in the next one.